Joining me now on the Knicks Film School Podcast, we are diverting course a little bit from our regularly scheduled program, although I have a feeling there will definitely be some Knicks talk over the next little bit. He is the writer of a movie that is coming out today, as you are listening to this, because I believe this episode is dropping on Friday. It is a major, wide Hollywood studio release. And it is a movie about basketball, which to anyone listening to this podcast right there, that's all you should need to know. But we're going to get in depth a little bit more. Writer of the movie Champions, Mark Rizzo. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm terrific. I'm so happy to be here. I'm not just like driving by here. I am an enormous fan, obviously, of all the work that you guys do here at KFS. And I'm there with you guys on every post game. I'm a diehard Knicks fan. I've watched every minute of every game with, I think, the exception of the one game I missed was the Celtics game on Monday night, the first win over the Celtics in that little run there. And I had a good excuse. It was the premiere of the movie, and I had to be there in New York.
It's a decent excuse.
It's a pretty good excuse. It was a magical night. It was surreal. I was on a red carpet for the first time, and what's really cool is it was a hardwood carpet. They made it out of hardwood, and there were basketballs everywhere, so you could pose with the basketballs and all that stuff. But and it was this magical night. You're just getting this is not my life, you know. It was very Cinderella, right? I'm waiting for the coach to turn into a pumpkin. Like the limo takes you here or there, and then we get back to the hotel, and my wife and I are like, oh, what a great night! And the first thing I do is like, yes, they won. I was like, now my night is complete. I even had a buddy texting me from the Garden who was there that night that he had seen a commercial for Champions on the Jumbotron at MSG. And I was just like, wow, this is a great night.
Very, very different from your experience, but for me, because we've been back and forth on doing this for a little while, and you let me know about the film months and months and months ago. But I had a moment where I live in Brooklyn, Cobble Hill, and there's a great little theater, independent theater, Cobble Hill Cinema, where they put up they usually do it a few days beforehand. They put up, Champions March 10th, right? I lose track of days. March 10th. And they put it up earlier this week. I'm like, damn, this is so cool. I get to talk to the person who wrote this movie that's playing right around the block from my house in a few days. This is going to be awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's crazy. I remember when the film was finished and I heard from some of the producers, the studio is really, really behind this movie and they're going to promote it. And you think, oh, that's some happy talk. That's some nice Hollywood talk. That's shining me on. That's cute. And to quote a certain Miami podcaster,
we don't say anything else. Everybody knows by now.
We don't even. Yeah, God bless him. He's taken enough slings and arrows.
Yes.
But I thought, oh, okay, that's cute. And then lo and behold, this thing is everywhere. And they're so supporting the film. I remember I turned off the All-Star game like any good basketball fan should have at a certain point. But I did get a text later. It's like, hey, there was a commercial for your movie on the All-Star game. And I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. So yeah, it's a real thrill for me. Like I said, this is my first produced film. So it's a big thrill. And again, I'm so happy that I get to talk to you guys about it and share it with this community, because I really do feel like what you have done here most masterfully has created a community of fans who are intelligent, funny, and care about each other. And so, that I think this is the kind of movie that would appeal to this community. So I'm really glad to shout it out here.
So the film, first of all, is great. Let's just get that out of the way. And number two, before I get to my main point, I love movies. I am someone who the only real thing that annoys me with having two small children is I don't get to them. I love my kids. I love everything about my kids. I just don't get to the movies as much anymore. And I'm sorry, but watching at home is not the same. Nope. I love being able to go to the theater and experience movies in person, and specifically the sort of movies that I felt came out. I know everybody says it, but they don't make them like they used to anymore. Well, they really don't make them like they used to anymore. And this is a film that Hollywood, I'm sorry, just doesn't really make a whole lot or enough of for my personal tastes anymore. And like you look at the three, movies that are coming out on wide release this weekend. One's a big sci-fi thing. One is a franchise movie, and then there's this great little. I don't want to call it a little movie because it's not a little movie. It's like a smaller, like, it's focused on the characters, and I want to get into how you develop some of the characters and the whole thing. But like, this is what we need more of, not less of. So I just want to say that. And then, but to your point about the community and like why Knicks Film School is what it is, it's just a bunch of people who love basketball and they love thinking about basketball. And yes, the Knicks part of it is central, but I think everyone listening to this is going to love this film because it treats basketball with respect as far as the game on the court. And I want your thoughts on that and how much you thought about that as you were writing the script and going through the whole process, but also that like, we love why we love sports. Like this is obviously a different entryway into it, but it is the human element at the end of the day. So just like take me through how you kind of thought about all of that through this process.
A lot of meat on the bone there. So let me get to it. I'll start with the last part first. Like, honestly, like what we love about sports and what I love about basketball particularly is the way it reveals character. The game reveals character. And I really wanted to focus on that, the way that the game and coaching reveals character. And I was given this opportunity when my agent, I just switched agencies and I had a preliminary meeting, and she asked me, what should I know about you? And I said, the first thing you should know about me is that I'm a basketball sicko. I love basketball. And if there's anything basketball related coming across your desk, like send it to me. I would love to work on it. And so our film is based on a 2018 Spanish film called Campeones, which was a runaway hit in Spain.
The film of the year, right? It won the
Goya. Yeah, it won basically the Spanish version of the Oscar for Best Picture and was a runaway hit. They already have a sequel in the can.
I saw that, yeah.
It's wild. Yeah. And she sent me a link to see the film and said, they're looking to adapt this for English-speaking audiences. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah. And I watched the film and I was just so taken by it and I was so thrilled. And I went in and it's a grind, right? No one hands you anything out here. I had to go in and pitch to the producers what I would do differently and how I would, adapt the film. And the funny thing is I remember walking out of that meeting more than maybe most meetings that I've been in and felt very strongly that there was no way in hell I got the job. And because I won't get into the nitty gritty of it, but I was told certain things by one of the producers, like not to say certain things. I was like, well, I got to say this because like, and I said the thing, I shot my shot and I was like, all right, I can walk out of here. And lo and behold, I got the job. And here we are 5 years later talking about a movie that's been made. And it's funny, like, okay, so if anyone doesn't know about the film, it's a very familiar sports story. It's a redemption story of a grizzled coach. And Woody Harrelson's character is court mandated to coach a basketball team at a rec center. And the team, it's a team of adults with intellectual disabilities. And it's really funny because I think a lot of people, when I get into the interviews, want to focus on the disability aspect of it and the representation piece of the film, which is incredibly important. And I was thinking about it this morning, but I've always talked about this film and thought about this film as my basketball movie because it's about a basketball team. And that's what I wanted to focus on. And I wanted it to be a love letter to the game. And I wanted like real fans when they watch this film to say like, oh yeah, I really want them to say like, okay, this guy really, he watches basketball. He knows basketball. In the same way that like when you watch a movie and they have an actor playing basketball and you're like, that guy has never picked up basketball in his life. I'm not going to mention any names, Jonah Hill. But and I love Jonah Hill, but
yeah, it's fair.
Scene in You People was wild. But like, that's why when you get someone like Woody Harrelson attached to your film, he brings hoop gravitas, right?
He's one of the, you could argue he should be on the Mount Rushmore in terms of like basketball movies. I mean, White Man Can't Jump's pretty notable one.
Pretty good movie. And shout out Semi Pro. A lot of fun.
Yes, Semi Pro. Yes.
Don't forget Semi Pro. Yeah, I wanted, in the same way that when you see an actor who's comfortable with the game and with the ball in his hand, I wanted people to see this film and feel like, okay, the writer has a handle on the game and loves the game as much as I do.
And so one of the things you just mentioned, which I'm glad you brought up, is again, we've talked offline and you kind of know my backstory. So, I'm a teacher. I think what some people may not know is I'm a special education teacher. I've been this is my 8th year teaching special education. And so, it goes back to even before I started teaching, studying classes, about, like what it is to teach students with disabilities. And I think if I was to say, like, summarize everything you were taught and everything you've learned in over the years in like 1 or 2 sentences, it would be, if someone has a disability, they don't want their life or their experience to be about their disability. They just you want to create the proper accommodations to make sure they can be successful in whatever their endeavor is, whether it is in a classroom or on a basketball court. But that's the last thing that they want. So I have to imagine you've gotten a lot of support from, communities of people that are not fully abled, because this is a movie about basketball that just so happens to feature people with disabilities.
John, I'm just going to say that this is the best interview I'll do about this film.
Oh,
really and truly, like you're because number one, I'll just get back to something you shouted out earlier. You really get it in that, like, we're not seeing these movies made anymore. And that's why I think it's really important that audiences get out into the theater and support them. Because if we want to see more movies like this, whether you like it, love it, dislike it, like if you want more movies in this range where it's about human beings and characters, it's uplifting and it's not shit blowing up everywhere you look, please come out and support this movie. As to your last point about disability, there's this great quote from one of our actors in the film, Madison Tevlin, who plays Cousin Tino, one of my absolute favorite characters in the movie. When she does interviews, she always says, the fact that I have Down syndrome is the least interesting thing about me.
Yes.
And if you know Madison, that is very true. And that's kind of the way I wanted to always treat the characters in this film as much as possible. And to, I just always thought to myself as I was writing this, like, these are characters. These are fully formed characters. And like, for me, job one was to represent all the disabled people in the film as fully rounded human beings. Very often you see, it's great because like you'll see disabled actors in film and TV, and they're there, but they're not carrying story. Right. They don't have agency. They don't have an emotional arc. And that was the most important thing for me as I was adapting the film, was like, look, you have a basketball team of 10 characters. You cannot track 10 characters and emotional arcs through a movie, or you're making Lawrence of Arabia. And I'm so
talk about movies they don't make anymore. Anyway.
Yeah. Again, one of my favorites, but at any rate, I just really wanted to focus in on, the characters and make sure that they were fully rounded characters, and that we stayed away from some of the kind of stereotypes of infantilizing and underestimating the characters. And what you say in your experience as a teacher, it's not so much about like, there's this notion of inspiration porn, and it's like, oh, they overcame these obstacles. And like, really what we want to focus on is not like, it's not so much the obstacles that folks overcome. It's about like, why is the world set up in a way that's not accommodating to disabled people? Right. And the biggest message of the film to me is, if we meet people where they are, disabled or non-disabled, everyone is capable of extraordinary things. And that's the message I want people to take away from this. And I also want them to have a hell of a lot of fun, because it's a funny movie. It's directed by Bobby Farrelly, who is, I think you could say he's a certified laugh master, if they give out that title.
Certainly responsible for some of my experiences where I've laughed the most seeing a film. I'm happy you brought up Bobby, but I just want to go back for a second to Woody. Mm-hmm. Because of everything you just talked about, I feel like in the hands of the wrong actor, this movie could have been not a disaster, but like it could have gone the wrong way in several ways. One, like you have to have someone who knows, like who has just have to be a good enough actor to be able to, pull off what Woody's pulling off here. But also, like, it's a comedy. And to toe the line of like, okay, you are dealing with a subject matter that is, I guess, I don't say it's a sensitive subject matter, but again, you have to have a deft touch. And so what was it like for you? Because my understanding is you wrote the character at least a little bit after knowing that Woody was going to be involved, right?
Yes and no. I adapted the film with no actor attached whatsoever, just trying to write a good enough script that we could attract someone good, someone meaningful to get the film made. And then when we found out that Woody was on board, I went back in and
that's what it was.
Tweaked it to Woody's voice. And also, Bobby likes to improvise, and he likes to play it loose. And so, Woody's, if you see the film, it's Woody. You're getting 100% the full Woody Harrelson experience.
Yep.
And he's a national treasure. I mean, the man has extraordinary range and a depth of humanity that translates onto the screen in every scene that he's in. So no Woody, no movie, right? Like the fact that he took a shine to the script and to the project means everything. And I'm still like eternally grateful that he did.
That's incredibly cool. Okay, now I have to divert into a little bit of Knicks talk.
Let's go.
Anybody could see this. There we go, Big 15, baby.
Yeah.
Anyone could see it just in the trailer. You will notice early on in the trailer there is a jersey. It is a blue and orange jersey, and is number 9. That is indeed an RJ Barrett jersey. So I want to ask you, like, as you were writing this, were you thinking of like, how could I sneak in my Knicks fandom into this film in some way, shape, or form?
Well, I am not responsible directly for the costume choices. However, there are 2 producers who are on the case every day, just like solving problems, protecting the heart of the film and making it happen. Jeremy Plager and Brad Kessel. And they and I have the kind of relationship where they know the level of my Knicks fandom. And so they did tell me that was a shout out to me and my Knicks fandom. And I will say this, like, this is something only Knicks Film School folks will get to hear. You're not going to hear this in other interviews. And I probably shouldn't even be saying this. So God bless us all if my career ends today. But, in the original draft, there was kind of a villain, like a secondary villain, and it was James Dolan playing himself. And it was at a time when I was like very frustrated with the team and the direction, and like,
this is real.
Oh yeah. James Dolan. Like if you like call my agency and say, hey, can I get a sample of Mark Rizzo's writings? Could you send me over Champions? Get to page, 110, 115. James Dolan is in the film.
That's
and
amazing.
the Knicks feature prominently in it at the end, because it's all about a coach's, not giving anything away here in the plot, but Woody's a coach who's in the G League basically. And he's like, I should be in the NBA. And he's busting his balls to try to get to the NBA. And that's a big part of his drive in the story. And in the original version, the Knicks feature into that plot line. So I did put the Knicks in there, but unfortunately the NBA wasn't able to cooperate with us. So we couldn't use,
got it.
We couldn't say G League. We say J League. And we couldn't, like, we talk about the NBA. We can say the NBA, but we can't shout out specific teams. So you'll notice that in the film, we just say like, oh, it's Phoenix. Oh, it's Seattle. Oh, it's New York. Oh, it's Philly. But we can't use any of the NBA names, unfortunately. Hopefully the film's successful enough that if there's a sequel, maybe the NBA will participate. I did write certain scenes with NBA players in mind. We wanted to cast real players in some of the roles. And in fact, I wrote a scene. This is how far back the film goes. And this is a bit of a sad piece of information, but I wrote a scene for Kobe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I wrote a scene for Kobe because I was like,
and he was into Hollywood and everything, because of the Oscar and everything.
I was actually, the year that he won the Oscar for his animated short, there's also another awards ceremony called the Annie Awards for excellence in animation. And I was working in animation at the time, and our show was nominated, and I was at the Annies with Kobe when he won. And there's a moment where I was there with my wife, and Kobe's like, it's really crowded, and Kobe's kind of moving through, and we locked eyes, and he gave me that look like, yeah, it's me. It was amazing. It was so Kobe story. It's so Kobe. I mean, yeah, that's my brush with Kobe. Like literally, like we brush shoulders, and then eventually we were going to cast a WNBA player, and that player was not able to shoot the scene because of COVID-19.
Oh,
and so yeah. So there's a lot of things that you regret not coming into the film, but when I sit back and watch the end product, I am absolutely thrilled with it. It is packed with everything that I could have hoped for. And yeah.
I want to bring Andrew up here in a minute to talk a little bit about the movie more, but just two quick ones before I do. One, what current Knick player, or I don't know, should we limit it to current, or should we go like all time player? Would you most want to write into a film about? It could be about anything.
Oh my God.
They don't even have to be playing themselves. They could just be playing like a character that you write. I'm just, anyone ever come to mind?
I mean, as a writer, and I think not just as a writer, I'm sure we all do this because I listen to your post games. Like we watch these characters, we watch these players like they're characters in a human drama. And honestly, the journey that Julius has been on, which has been, as you say, maddening, but
one of a kind.
One of one. You
can't write it because they wouldn't buy the script. Yeah,
they wouldn't buy the script because there's too many ups and downs. Like, we kind of need a line here. But I'm fascinated by what he has, what he's done this year in terms of applying mindfulness. And you can see the battle, right? You can see the battle, and you can see when bad Julius wins, right, out there on the court. So it's something like that. I see Andrew popping up in the chat, and you know what? You may have the right answer, and it's Tibbs, because Tibbs, like, oh my God, I'm upset. I'm a little obsessed with Tibbs, to be honest. Like, I have this weird. Only on this podcast can I talk about this,
please,
and people would get it. When I watch Tibbs on the sideline, hunched over, kind of looking around,
let's go.
I keep thinking he needs to play Captain Ahab in a reboot of Moby Dick.
Oh my God.
He is just after the white whale. Iceberg, harpooners. Like, he is Ahab on the Queequeg. Just,
that's fantastic.
He's after that whale. Also, like, the man has no life outside of basketball, but he has to have, like, what happened, like, when the curtain goes down, when Tibbs is home.
I've often wondered this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fascinating character, right? So, like, maybe the Julius and Tibbs, like, maybe it's like a road trip, or like plane crashes and Tibbs and Julius are the only ones who survive. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Who knows? There's a movie there.
You mentioned plane. I would like, if they ever, they should never do this, but if they ever remake Airplane, have maybe Mitch in the Kareem role. It would be a different spin on the character, obviously, but I just can't get enough of Mitchell Robinson, which is why that would be an interesting one for me.
Money Mitch is fascinating. And you know what? Like, I just want to spend like 5 minutes with Emmanuel quickly so I can just get some of that joy.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, look, let's just, go from 30,000 feet and look at this team. They're a delight. And like, think about how frustrating they were early in the season. And what a wonderful story to see them find an identity and to really be able to enjoy. Like, you can see, like, I think when they say that they love each other and the vibes are good, I really do believe that. Now, sports, things can turn pretty quickly in sports, and, let's hope that JB's foot is better and he plays tonight in Sacramento. We're taping this on Thursday.
Knocking on wood.
Knocking on wood, all the wood. Things can definitely turn, but that's why we love it. That's why we watch it, because we don't know how it's going to end.
You may have just answered it. I was going to ask you also, who's your favorite current player?
It's really tough because it's between Brunson and Quickly, and they embody two sides of the same coin, right? Look, I love small guards because I'm a small guard. I still play very poor.
I know. I read that you still are. You disparaged your physical abilities in one interview that I read, but I mean, the fact that you're still playing, I mean, God bless.
Thank you. I've been in the same pickup game at the Santa Monica YMCA. Come on down Saturday mornings. We're there for I've been doing it since 2003. So I've been at
that's
that game
awesome.
20 years. I've been playing with a lot of the same guys, which is incredible. But yeah, so like I love small guards who are crafty, and I love guys with swag, and I love the incredible maturity and calm that JB brings to the team as a point guard. And I just love the abandon and the pleasure that Quickly plays with. And I always have, from day one, I loved Quickly. So those are my guys.
You gotta like. Yeah, those are. I've gone back and forth a half a dozen times between those two as to which is my current favorite player on this team. All right, I'm going to bring Andrew up here for a brief sec because I know he had at least one or two questions that more from the film buff angle.
Ooh.
Since that's what you are, Andrew.
High praise, a film buff angle. So, Mark, I'll say this: I've got some notes written down here. The one that you added down that I need to just address is, while I'm all for the Tibbs road trip with Julius movie, the Tibbs rom-com is sitting right there where he finds love off the basketball court. And we finally get to, he's career driven and that's all he cares about. And then throughout the screenplay, he finds other ways to care about other things and other people, I
love that. Not only because it's a great idea, it's what we call in the business $1 million idea.
There you go. I'll take points on that, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Points on the back end. But no, the Champions is a stealth rom-com. Mm-hmm. Like, we should say that it has Woody Harrelson in it, but also has Caitlin Olsen.
Shout out.
If you are an Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan or a Hacks fan or just a person who likes to laugh, oh my God, what an extraordinary talent. And she goes toe-to-toe with Woody, and they are phenomenal in the film. And she's just an incredible asset.
The screenplay gives her a lot to do too, because like she's a punchline in Always Sunny, and then in a lot of the other roles I've seen her in, at least I haven't seen Hacks, so maybe this is different there, but like she's just kind of a punchline, and this actually gives her a bit of an arc that between what's going on with her and her brother that you get attached to, and then you kind of empathize with her situation toward that turn in the movie. So I appreciated that element as well. You nailed it about Constantino. Yeah, Madison, the character you were talking about earlier. There's a Me Too joke 2/3 of the way into the movie before there's a players only meeting, and it's funny. And I always find I appreciate when you can like write a Me Too joke and it still be funny, especially like those are hot button things that you don't want to cross. So I enjoyed that. I guess you kind of answered it with Dolan potentially being in the movie. Does that explain why there ends up being like a side swipe at Seattle as a result?
Yeah, I think you're always writing within constraints, right? The first draft of the screenplay is like, it's a sales document. It's a blueprint. It's blue sky. It's like, this is how I imagine it. And then practicality gets in, casting, budget, timing, legal, right? So many of the names were changed because they do these legal searches and, they switch.
Really?
Them up. Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing that happened. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's like so many, if you went into entertainment law, John, you would know all about these really tedious matters that come up as you're making a film. And I believe the reason we use Seattle there was because we're shooting strays there a little bit, and they don't exist yet.
Right.
But in a hypothetical world, like we all know that Seattle and Vegas are getting a team, and that was kind of my shout out to the basketball community. Who knows? If you know, you know.
That was a very inside basketball joke that I like. Again, the three of us got that someone like my fiance might not get, that I'm sure when we see it, I'll explain it to her. I was telling you a little bit about this before we logged on, that the thing that hit me the most I'll start this. My dad, his brother, is an adult with an intellectual disability and fully functioning member of society. And I liked that, while that is clear that this is, the Special Olympics and this is what Woody has been, his character has been sentenced to do. They have jobs. They are friends. The group home is not stigmatized. It's just a place where they get to go hang out together. And I appreciated that it's fully developed their backgrounds, that it's like they're not as disabled as that word kind of gets stigmatized. Was that like an emphasis that you had when like you wrote out the script and you wrote out these characters, and obviously the approach that you and Bobby, I guess, approached this story with?
It was my 100% laser focused North Star, was making sure to represent these characters the right way. And I can't take full credit for it, because I have to say that like I'm picking up the baton from the folks in Spain and Javier Fesser, who made the original film Campeones. And then I did some research because I just felt like I don't have lived experience around this. So I was just reaching out to people, and the first thing I did was I called the Writers Guild of America, my union. I'm a proud union member, and they have incredible resources for writers, not just in terms of just like helping us get treated fairly and paid fairly, but also in professional development as writers. And so they have a Writers with Disabilities Committee. I spoke with them, and they put me in touch with a woman named Gail Williamson, who is an advocate and an agent. She is a talent agent, and she represents disabled actors. And her son happens to be an actor. He has Down syndrome, and he's on a basketball team. And so she welcomed me into that community. I kind of embedded with Blair Williamson's team, the North Hollywood Wolf Pack, and I went to their practices, and I went with them to the Special Olympics. I toured some group homes, and just I was overwhelmed by the warmth of the welcome that they gave me in that community. And so I just really wanted to, do right by all the folks that I met there.
I appreciate it. I could definitely feel I know anybody that sees the movie will also feel this, that like the warmth and the heart that is in the movie, I thought really comes off the screen, and how, that really stuck with me. The other part, there is so Woody, as you mentioned, his character Marcus gets sentenced to 90 days to coach this team because of a DUI that he is guilty of. And on a lot of movies, and really just in pop culture in general, a DUI is just kind of a stepping stone to like, all right, it moves along the plot, but there's never any consequences that come with it later on. And so like a little background, my family lost someone to a DUI before I was born, and it's to the day why I don't drink alcohol. I don't like judge anybody that does, but like that's always been something that like I'm like afraid to touch it as a result, knowing the consequences that come with it. And I'm not gonna give away what happens, but there is a scene that I think for me honestly is the most impactful in the movie, that Woody has to face the consequences of it and realize that his actions led to more than just, I now have to coach this team. I'm not able to, go get a job in the NBA or get a job anyplace else. Like, this is my sentence. It's actually deeper in what happened. And I don't know, I really appreciated that was put into the story as well. What was was that also a focal point that you wanted to add that element to the story?
Yeah, that was a really important scene to me. And it's one of my, in terms of the dramatic scenes in the movie, it might be my favorite. It really lands on my heart. And yeah, Woody's character starts out as someone who really is laser focused on getting to the NBA, and all of the relationships in his life are transactional.
Yep.
It's all about, what can you give me? And this is like, in the spirit of like Christmas Carol, right? This is a guy who's like learning, right, what it means to be fully human. And I think that scene goes a long way toward that. And, I lost two people in my life to a drunk driving accident over the course of writing this film. Wow. And it was really important for me to take it seriously. And I'm just going to say their names because their memories truly are a blessing. Ruby Campbell and Hart Campbell, two kids that I loved and love dearly. And certainly were on my mind when I wrote that scene, and they're on my mind every time. I've seen the film like 3 times now, and when we get to that scene, it lands really hard on my heart because I'm thinking of them.
That's awesome.
It's so obvious listening to you talk about everything that went into this film. That, I mean, you want to talk about making a movie for the right reasons and having all the right things go into it. And again, I just have to reference, we live in a time where, you know, movie scripts are generated by like, okay, what boxes do we need to check to move the movie that we're making 3 years from now? You know, how do we have to set that up and all this other stuff. And this is none of that. I think this is what movies are supposed to be. This is why the format was invented, to get people to feel things and think about things and think about life and ask all the right questions of themselves and the world around them, and also to have a good time. There is that element too. So you'll do but it's not easy to check both of those boxes, right? And this film does it. I really just hope everyone listening to this not only will go see it, maybe go see it, tell a friend, the whole thing.
Yeah, can I just add, like, I brought in the dramatic and serious stuff. This movie is hilarious as well.
Oh my God.
I didn't mean to bring it down completely, but like everything Marlon says is great. Showtime.
Oh, the great Casey Metcalf. Oh my God, Casey Metcalf is amazing.
Yeah.
The stink eye scene with Kevin Iannucci.
Oh my God! I'm not giving you the stink eye. It's outstanding. The Showtime character. I just want, like, what would happen if Tibbs had to coach a player that was taking the shot he was taking over and over again, and still having to be patient as a result. So yes,
that's great.
Across the board, there's a lot of humor in the movie as well.
There's a moment on the cutting room floor where someone has to take a technical free throw. And Woody's character is distracted, and he turns around, and Showtime's taking the technical.
Oh no!
Shit, yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and you know, when you're a writer, you just hope that your actors will respond to the material. And the actors who play the basketball team not only responded to the material, but they did what you dream of as a writer. They elevated it. They made it funnier than I could have hoped for in the performance, and that's true all around. By the way, like, we've got Woody Harrelson, you know, GOAT of basketball films, right? We've got Caitlin Olsen, 1/4 of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. We've got an original Ghostbuster in Ernie Hudson, who gives a beautiful, beautiful performance in this one. And we've got half of Cheech and Chong. We've got Cheech Marin. Like, we've got some certified, bona fide comedic actors in this movie, and they're doing a lot of great, great work. And of course, you know, the man at the helm, Bobby Farrelly, is a legend and just such a big-hearted person. And maybe the truest measure of the success of this film is that everyone who is on set has told me that it was their best experience making a film in their career. And this is coming from producers who've been doing this for 35 years. And the fact that something I wrote allowed people to have an experience like that, and that Bobby was the one who made that possible, I'm just so overwhelmed with gratitude for him to have done that and to made an experience like that for people.
Well, Mark, thank you for making the movie possible. Thank you for making this interview possible. We appreciate you taking the time. Champions, it is in theaters today. Go see it today. Go get a babysitter if you need to. Do whatever you got to do. It is. God, is it worth your time and then some? Mark, I'll leave the floor to you. Anything else before we go?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, get out there and like, don't wait for it to stream. Like, please go out and see it in a movie theater, because
see movies in movie
there's nothing. Yeah, see movies in movie theaters, because, like, especially comedies, like we all say, you know, there's a lot of lamenting about, oh, where's comedy? We need more comedies. Go out and support a comedy. It's good to be in a room and laughing with people. So go out and have that experience.
Be a human being. Go
out and be human. Have some fun. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys for having me on and for allowing me to kind of open this up to this great community that you've built here. And just so grateful to you guys for the work that you do, because it really brightens my day and gives me, like I always like to say, it gives me a very wholesome distraction to the exigencies and difficulties of life. And we could all use it, because, you know, it ain't a walk in the park, this life. So I'm grateful to you guys for the sunshine you bring.
appreciate the love, and thank you again. And obviously, best of luck. This is awesome. Congrats,
Thanks, man. Shout out to the whole Sam Garcia multiverse. I'm waiting for that movie to be made.
It's great.
Giancarlo gets a shout out. Sam Garcia gets a shout out. I love
fantastic.
I roll deep with you guys, man. I roll deep. Hey, shout out Kevin Danishevsky. Shout out Hush Zoo.
Robert.
Oh my God.
Robert Cross. CT.
You know, everybody. John, and it's gonna be great is when these become characters in a movie one day.
Yes, there you go. That's your next script, please.
Yeah. Hey, I before I go, if I'm shouting out the community, I got to shout out Jeremy. Mm-hmm. I got to shout out APJP, the Casuals, Sean, Mensa, XJ, Chris, Young and Hungry Chris, and Benji, the Svengali of the hardwood there. Yeah. So you guys are awesome. I appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you, man.